What's up guys? I'm Lucas and welcome to Terracotta Aquarium. Today I want to set up a new tank and turn it into a thriving colony of Neocaridinea shrimp. I found this cheap 5-gallon aquarium at a local pet store. I can't resist a good deal, so I bought it. This is a kit from Imagitarium. It comes with a tank, self-leveling mat, filter, light, and a lid. For a budget kit, I think it's pretty good. I added a white background to the tank and water tested it for good measure. I decided to try something new for the substrate. I got this bag of fluorite red at my local shop. It's a Seachem product and should be an all-in-one substrate that will be beneficial for plants and shrimp. I decided to give it a good rinse as recommended at the shop, and I'm glad that I did, because this stuff was super dusty. I then just decided to start chucking it into the aquarium. Normally I go for a layered substrate with gravel, aqua soil, and sand, but I'm always up for experimenting, and I really enjoy the beautiful color of this product. Next, I began banking the substrate towards the back of the aquarium to create a slope from the back of the tank into the foreground. This makes the aquarium look deeper. I ended up using a whole 5-pound bag of fluorite red, which turned out to be the perfect amount for this 5-gallon aquarium. This stuff was really messy to work with. It has a lot of clay in it, so washing the dust off created a bit of a murky mess. I would still recommend rinsing it, but make sure you've got lots of towels on hand when you add it to the aquarium. Overall though, I really like the look of this substrate. It's very vibrant, and I think the plants and hardscape are really going to pop once I add them in. I decided to create a triangular composition using this piece of spiderwood and a few river rocks. I placed the wood in a corner of the tank with its branches flowing towards the center. This adds to the perspective and makes the tank feel deeper. I used the rocks to stabilize the spiderwood and to create an anchor point for the wood to be secured to. I messed around with the layout for a while, trying to find a combination of rocks that I was the most pleased with. I really like to take my time with this step and just get immersed in the creative process. Eventually, I settled on this composition. Just 3 simple river rocks surrounding the base of the spiderwood, which juts out into the center of the aquarium. This created plenty of space for planting in the foreground and background, and some nice crevices between the wood and the stones for epiphyte plants. I really liked the contrast between the stones and the substrate, but I decided to add some scatter gravel, just to blend the color tones a bit. This scatter gravel matches the color and texture of the river rocks, and makes the substrate look more cohesive. At this point, I started gluing down the spiderwood. This wood is dry and has never been in an aquarium before, so it would certainly float. I used cotton pads and super glue to attach the spiderwood to the river rocks to ensure that it would stay submerged. With that, I called the hardscape done, and it was time to start planting. I started with Terracotta Vietnam. I removed it from its pot and then broke off most of the rock wool with my fingers and a pair of tweezers. I was able to separate this one pot into a bunch of individual portions. I decided to plant the Terracotta all over the midground and the foreground. This is when the scape really started looking like a desert. These plants kind of remind me of agave bushes. This substrate was not the easiest thing I've ever planted into, and it took some time to get the roots of all these portions secure. Eventually, I ended up with this. I think it already looks really good, but I've still got more plants to go. Next, I went with the tiger lotus. I left this space between 2 of the river rocks empty. I think that as it grows in, the lotus will become a great centerpiece. I also had 2 pots of mini bulbitis. This is an epiphyte plant that I thought would look awesome in the places where the wood and the stone meet, sort of merging the hardscape. I fiddled with the placement for a bit before settling on this. I decided to fill the tank up with water before planting the background stem plants. I used a paper towel to diffuse the water as to not disturb the substrate. After the tank was filled, it looked like this. The water was pretty murky. This substrate is messy. If you decide to use it, I'd proceed with caution. I'm not sure if I just didn't rinse it enough, or if that's just the nature of the material. I figured I would get the filter running, and hopefully that would help to clear up the water. I did a little bit of DIY and added a strip of plastic from a water bottle to direct the flow of the filter across the surface of the tank, rather than straight down. This helps with surface agitation and prevents plants directly below the filter from getting blown around too much. At this point, I also added a water conditioner and some beneficial bacteria to kickstart the nitrogen cycle. I let the filter run for a while, but the tank was still cloudy. I decided to plant the stem plants anyway and hoped that by morning the tank would be clear. In the morning, this is what the tank looked like. Still a little bit cloudy, but much clearer. In the background, I planted a mixture of foxtail and Rotala Walichi. I think their textures work really well together and provide a nice mixture of color. Overall, the tank was looking great, and I figured the cloudiness would clear with time. As a final touch, I added some boiled oak leaves to add another aesthetic to the substrate. These would double as a natural food source for the shrimp. The aquarium was done for now, and I was super happy with it. I think it really did turn out like a miniature desert scene. I decided to wait a week before adding shrimp, and I couldn't wait. After a week, the tank was still a little bit cloudy, and the spiderwood had started to produce biofilm, which was contributing to the cloudiness. I figured that overall, this wouldn't be a problem, as it would be another natural food source for the shrimp. The water parameters were all good, so I decided it was time to get the shrimp. Before this, I did a water change to get rid of some of the biofilm. I also added some pre-cycled ceramic media to the filter that I collected from one of my established aquariums. Using pre-cycled media like this helps to ensure that there will be enough beneficial bacteria in the filter to support the added bioload of the shrimp. Then I went out to get the shrimp from my local shop. I decided to go for blue velvet shrimp. I figured that they would look great in this tank with their natural contrast to the red substrate. I poured them into a bowl to start the acclimation process. Over about an hour, I added a few drops every couple of minutes to their bowl and removed some of the water from the bowl to dilute the water that they traveled in. After an hour, I added them into the tank. They immediately began to settle in and explore. These little guys are adorable. I got a group of 10 of them, and I hope that this tank will become a thriving colony of blue shrimp. I love watching their little legs move as they forage from the substrate and ingest the microorganisms in the tank. Seems like they really enjoy this substrate. Many of them immediately began picking debris from the surface of the rocks. Over the next week, the shrimp continued to settle in, exploring the plants and the spiderwood. They seemed to really enjoy hiding in the foxtail and Rotala walichi and picking at the biofilm that collects there. The spiderwood continued to accumulate biofilm, and I ended up having to do frequent water changes, accompanied with scraping of the wood to stay on top of it. But the tank is getting clearer and clearer. I really should have boiled this piece of wood before adding it to the tank. In larger tanks, biofilm like this isn't much of a problem, but with this small volume of water, it became a real issue. Luckily, I had the time to tend to it. I also did a trim back of the stem plants, as they doubled in size in a week, which kind of blew my mind. This tank gets a few hours of afternoon sun, which may have had something to do with it. After the trim up, I moved the filter to the other side of the tank to prevent the stems from getting blown around the tank too much. The filter intake was also collecting a lot of biofilm, and I wanted it to be in a place where I could access it more easily for cleaning. While doing this maintenance, I also realized something absolutely crazy. Fry! Baby fish! I counted 6 of them, but there may be more. I have no idea how they got into the tank. It was very likely from the plants. They could have come from the shop where I bought the plants, or they could have come from the tank that I stored them in once I brought them home. It's too early for me to be able to tell what kind of fish they are, but if they are fry from my tank, they are either platinum adacas or leopard danios. I have no idea if they'll survive, but the biofilm in the tank gives them a natural food source, so they certainly have a chance. I can't wait to see how this tank develops. The aquarium looks better and better every day, and I think it's only a matter of time until it develops into a thriving ecosystem. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate all of you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave me a comment and let me know what you think of the tank. If you like this video, check out some of my other ones. See you in the next one.